So this is the drawing I was doing at the Maylands boatyard, and I
Movavi,
chose a couple of boats in the water. And here I'm just putting on the burnt sienna
Movavi,
underpainting and moving the paint around. It's transparent. So if you're going to do an underpainting, I
Movavi,
would really recommend using a transparent paint, because look what happens. You can actually use your rag
Movavi,
or your cloth to draw in and to wipe away the lights, and also to remove areas of the
Movavi,
painting that don't fit in place. So how I like to draw is I create a
Movavi,
big shape and I see how that shape fits onto the canvas, and then I can move the paint
Movavi,
around. It's almost evolving. The drawing doesn't, when you draw with a
Movavi,
pencil on a piece of paper, you're not able to continue evolve where
Movavi,
that line is. But with paint, you can just take your brush, move the paint around, and then
Movavi,
wipe back off it. So I can keep evolving the drawing. I can keep checking my angles. I can keep
Movavi,
checking the thicknesses of things. And I use my paintbrush. I'll line it up
Movavi,
against something, as I'm doing here. You can't really see the background, but I'll line my paintbrush up with an edge,
Movavi,
and then I just check whether that edge is the same angle as I've got in my drawing. It just helps me keep
Movavi,
my perspective right, and it helps me to judge distances. And
Movavi,
really, drawing is all about judging distances and shapes. And if you can see, you can
Movavi,
draw. So I take my time here to really just establish how far something is away from
Movavi,
something else, how big that negative space is in between things. Um,
Movavi,
what angle is the middle of the boat, the
Movavi,
intersection of the middle of the boat? What angle is that little carriageway that sits above?
Movavi,
I keep checking and double checking, and I keep adding and taking away. And I
Movavi,
really love this method of drawing and this freedom that just drawing in one undercolor
Movavi,
gives me. So once I've established everything, once I've put the time into creating all the
Movavi,
shapes I think in the right place, then I don't have to double guess anymore. Then I can come in,
Movavi,
mix my paints, and come in with the actual paints I want to use. But the initial
Movavi,
stage, it's all about getting your shapes right and getting the darks in place.
Movavi,
And you can get the darks in place or get the tonal differences in place, as I say, just with
Movavi,
one color to start off with. And then you can add your darks once your drawing's in place.
Movavi,
So yes, this video is sped up so you can just see the process and how
Movavi,
much real attention to detail is going into trying to make sure
Movavi,
that my angles are right, that my drawing is right. Because things like
Movavi,
boats, yes, you can make them very naive and abstract,
Movavi,
but it's always better to at least have some sort of structural
Movavi,
integrity to the shape. And then you can actually be creative with your brushstrokes and your colors.
Movavi,
So it's good to sort of really try and measure and
Movavi,
work as carefully as you can in the construction of these shapes to start off
Movavi,
with.
Movavi, Movavi,
Working on a taped canvas to a board. And the advantage of doing this is
Movavi,
that you can actually have a little bit of spare space on the side if you seem to
Movavi,
feel like you may want to sort of add a little bit of space to your composition.
Movavi,
You always have the option of pulling the tape off and adding a few more millimeters into your composition.
Movavi,
It's also, if you're traveling, like I've done, traveled overseas, it's an easy way
Movavi,
to transport your paintings in a rolled canvas. Doesn't take a lot of weight and doesn't take a lot
Movavi,
of space. Once they dry, of course, but when they're wet, then I normally use a
Movavi,
foam core. I use my canvas tape to foam core, and I'll use a few pieces and
Movavi,
buffer them together with a space in between. I do have a video on my
Movavi,
YouTube about that. But here I am. I'm now putting in the
Movavi,
darks. I spoke about, now that you've got your shapes in place, being able to
Movavi,
place the darks. And the darks I'm placing with a mixture of burnt umber and
Movavi.
ultramarine blue, or even the burnt sienna, which I use for my underpainting, mixed with ultramarine
Movavi.
blue. Then comes the mixing of the paint. So once the paint is mixed,
Movavi.
I'll come in and I'll mix some predominant colors that I see, and then I'll
Movavi.
use them in my painting to start laying down color. What I often do as well is I'll keep
Movavi.
paints, mixed over paints from days painting before, and I'll bring them with me on site.
Movavi.
So I'll have a whole lot of separate grayed down colors that I've used in something
Movavi.
else, and it just gives me, you know, some already mixed up colors to play with.
Movavi.
I'm using now sort of grayed down versions of blue for the boat that's
Movavi.
adjacent to the main boat, and these sort of grayed down versions
Movavi.
keep that boat a little bit further back, but I'm also staying true to the colors that I
Movavi.
see. Putting in a bit of the lightest lights at this point also helps me to
Movavi.
establish the tonal variances and how dark I need to go as opposed to
Movavi.
those very light bits. So everything I'm doing, I'm comparing and
Movavi.
adjusting. In that little bit is a transparent area, so I've got to bring the blue back
Movavi.
into that little transparent triangle at the back of that boat. Just establishing those
Movavi.
tones and working with trying to get the color of that background area of
Movavi.
water light enough so that the darks are popping against them.
Movavi.
And this is where I'm always looking to see, when I'm looking at the actual scene, how light
Movavi.
is that water, but how much chroma is in there. So how do I keep
Movavi.
it nice and vibrant and saturated, but light enough at the same time?
Movavi.
How do I stop it from looking too chocolate boxy blue? Often that just means
Movavi.
graying it down with a bit of its complementary color, adding a bit of orange into the blue to gray it down,
Movavi.
and then comparing. And I'll come back and adjust as I go
Movavi.
those little bits of color to see how strong they are and how
Movavi.
contrasting they are.
Movavi. Movavi.
The delicious part now is adding the real lights to the
Movavi.
sunlit areas of the boat. And my dilemma here is always,
Movavi.
how bright do I want to make these lights? And I can always
Movavi.
really push the color too. So if I'm adding extra yellow, I'm really sort of
Movavi.
playing color contrasts up. So I might purple the areas that
Movavi.
are, you know, in shadow, and then contrast them with really strong yellows
Movavi.
to really enhance that idea of light. And in some
Movavi.
paintings, I'll have a really yellow underpainting that will create the effect of sunlight
Movavi.
as it comes through little bits of the painting. But here I've got no
Movavi.
underpainting, so I can add the lights with buttery
Movavi.
whites and lemon yellows mixed together, or even the
Movavi.
Indian yellows to have that much warmer tone to them.
Movavi.
At the moment, the painting is very cut in half between the blues at the back and those lovely
Movavi.
transparent yellow browns at the front. But that will be rectified when I start
Movavi.
bringing the beautiful strokes of the
Movavi.
shape of the moving water into the front area now. So I start by adding little
Movavi.
shapes of blue, hoping that the dark underneath is dark enough. And in
Movavi.
some cases it may not be, and I may have to come back in and
Movavi.
establish some of those darker shapes of the shadow of the boat. But as I'm bringing
Movavi.
these blues in, I'm really starting to sort of at least marry the two halves of the
Movavi.
painting together. See here, I'm actually establishing with that
Movavi.
bigger brush, I was establishing some more darks underneath that area of the boat.
Movavi.
at the moment just adding a little bit more detail with
Movavi.
the stripes on the boat, and then moving again back into the water, and trying to
Movavi.
create the idea of moving water with just one brushstroke that's left to
Movavi.
describe movement all on its own.
Movavi. Movavi.
I'm also trying to add a little bit
Movavi.
of detail into that backwater to make it not look so flat. With the
Movavi.
same colors that I'm possibly using in the foreground to marry those colors together. I'm
Movavi.
working the whole painting, so I will look at some areas and work back into other areas
Movavi.
so that the whole painting evolves simultaneously. I don't ever sort of finish one
Movavi.
area and move on to the next. Again, re-establishing some darks again to see if that water
Movavi.
could actually have a bit of a more contrast in those shadow areas. It's really
Movavi.
push and pull, and really trying to make the most
Movavi.
out of every mark. I've also got to come in and re-establish the darks in those tall
Movavi.
horizontal posts that are in the water that hold the boat
Movavi.
in its place. And as I do that, I've also got to then get the
Movavi.
details, some of the darker details into the boat, and basically
Movavi.
continue drawing with paint. That's just what I'm doing. I'm creating an
Movavi.
impression with paint, and it's really a drawing in paint.
Movavi. Movavi.
So the difference between this kind of technique and painting in the studio is that painting in the
Movavi.
studio, you'll be painting over and over. You'll be letting layers dry. You'll be coming back to
Movavi.
it. Whereas in painting from life, you have to get it all done in one session because the
Movavi.
light's changing, things are moving. Just now someone will get in that boat and drive off in it. So you
Movavi.
really have to make sure you've got as much down possibly as you can. Obviously, you can take your
Movavi.
reference photos and then go back to the studio. Back in the studio, I've got the painting that I
Movavi.
originally did on site, and you see it's a bigger view of the one that I did as the demo. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and that you got some sort of process out of how to go about painting on site like this.